Alright, so I finally saw Spider-Man No Way Home. So I'm going to divide this thoughts on watching into two parts. The first part is going to be, it's my spoiler-free thoughts. And then I'll give a spoiler warning, and then I'll talk about spoiler stuff. So there you go. So the spoiler-free stuff first. So this is definitely the best, not just the best Marvel film, but the best Spider-Man film we've had in a long time, apart from Spider-Verse. But yeah, this is definitely the best Marvel film we've had since Endgame. I mean, the ones we've had currently this year and last year, haven't been a very high bar anyway. But this is pretty good. And also, it does, finally stop playing it so safe, because a big problem I've had with Marvel films is they all start to feel the same after some point, because a lot of them just play it far too safe, like by the books, by the numbers. This one, I mean, it's still got some of a lot of the Marvelisms in there, but, it still has it, it finally starts having some proper stakes. But also, thankfully, the Marvel humor, while it is still here, and there's a few occasions where it's a little bit overplayed, for the most part, the humor is actually done pretty well. Like, that isn't just insert a joke into a serious scene just because, a lot of the jokes in this are pretty well timed, and it's done pretty well, so that's good. Um, I will say the de-aging of Willem Dafoe and Alfred, I've forgotten his last name. Um, in some scenes it looks pretty good, but in others you can kind of tell that you can tell like CGI. Also, there's a couple of scenes where they don't quite. I don't know if they don't do it at all or don't quite do it as much with Willem Dafoe, because there's a couple of scenes in here where you can tell he looks like he does now. So I don't know if that was for effect or whether they just forgot or what. But hey, there we go with that. I will say, without spoiling anything, but this film, I'd say basically, if the more, if you're nostalgic, obviously, for the Maguire era films or the Andrew Garfield films, like, if, the more you're invested in them, is like the more you'll get out of this, is what I'll basically say to that, is basically the more you're investing nostalgic in that for that, then seeing these characters and that come back, seeing Doc Ock and everyone come back in this film, yeah, it is good, and yeah, and we'll go. I'll just all I'll say is, like, before I start talking spoiler stuff, like, just go see this film, just go see it, okay? Like, you will not regret it. If you're at all a fan of any of the other Spider-Man films, this will not disappoint. Anyway, talking in spoilers in three, two, one. So, I mean, we all kind of already knew this because leaks are a thing, but yes, this features the return of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, which, yeah, and they are not. I mean, you don't need to de-age Andrew Garfield because it's not that long since he last did one. Well, saying that, that was like 2014 or something like that. But yeah, they don't de-age Tobey Maguire, and yeah, the thing with that is the way they explain that is just because they're from a later point. So basically, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire is from a later point, in that timeline. So it's set after the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. So it's a good way of explaining that. But yeah, I will say the scene in which they're both introduced into the film was surprising. Even though I knew that they were coming, it was still surprising because the scene just kind of comes out of nowhere. Which, yeah, obviously, if you didn't know that was the case, if they were in it, it would be a big surprise. But it's it's so good just to see them back again. And the way that they do it, I mean, it's like they never left the role. It's obvious Andrew Garfield is having an absolute blast being back in the role. And also, it's pretty obvious also him and Tom Holland are kind of, starstruck a bit at Tobey Maguire being in it in a few, the few scenes, and that they actually are in the same room together. But yeah, obviously, Tom Holland knew, despite what he said, he knew they were in this film because there are some scenes that clearly they are in the same room together. Um, I will say, other than that, I'm glad in this film, I wasn't sure, Sandman and the Lizard are not mute, because that was something um, I was a little bit concerned about, but they are not mute. They brought back their original actors and that to voice them in the film. So that was good that they actually, brought them back so they weren't just, mute characters. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that obviously, clearly was removed from the trailer. Like I say, when you watch it, it's like, yeah. Um, but talking about the consequences, Peter does have obviously a lot of consequences in this film, and the first one is Aunt May's death. So yeah, which was surprising because the way they did it, you know, they kind of trick you a couple of times in it, because you got the Green Goblin basically taunting Peter, saying that you'll thank him later, and then you think Aunt May is dead. Then she gets up, and it all seems, and you think, oh, it's all gonna be fine, and then she goes back down again. It's like, oh no. I mean, as soon as she said, with great power comes great responsibility, it's like, okay, now she's going. So yeah, basically, obviously one of the things with the Tom Holland films is that a lot of people are going to say, well, what happened to Uncle Ben in this universe? And it, he either just never existed and he's never been talked about. So Aunt May, is taking that replacement. And I will say the one thing with that is that we have gotten to know this Aunt May a little bit. Not that much. Not that much, because she was barely in Far From Home. Uh, she was in Homecoming enough, so at least you get to know her enough to know. But I will say the one thing this film has like over Spider Verse, because obviously Spider Verse had the same gimmick of different versions of Spider Man and meeting each other. The one advantage this has is that basically we already know the other versions, which it means a lot. It's much of a bigger deal, the fact that the Maguire version, the Andrew Garfield versions of Spider-Man, and seeing them with the Tom Holland, you know you really don't get that. You wouldn't get that anywhere else if it was just like other random, Spider-Man from other universes. The fact that it's those two makes it that much more special. And I do love their interactions, with each other. It is pretty good, and it is pretty funny as well. Like, for example, you know, Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland, Spider-Man, both have questions about Tobey Maguire's, natural webs that he shoots, because he doesn't use a web shooter. His webs are naturally shoots them out of his wrist. So it's just little stuff like that. Yeah, Willem Dafoe is really good in this, and it's good that the fact that they decided this time around to actually just show his face all the time, apart from one brief shot at the beginning. But the rest of the time you get to see his face as the Green Goblin, because the expressions Willem Dafoe makes, even when he is CGI to make him look younger, just like the expressions that man, makes, seeing the performance properly this time is, so much better than it being just hidden behind a mask. There's also obviously the scene at the end where you think Tobey Maguire's gonna die. You think he's gonna die, but he doesn't. I've got a feeling at some point maybe he did die, and they decided, nah, let's not kill him off, just in case Toby wants to make any more Spider-Man films. Which obviously Sony is rubbing their hands together at this because obviously, they still maintain a lot of the rights with Spider-Man. So who knows, will they make a Spider-Man 4 or an Amazing Spider-Man 3 from this? Don't know. I will say the mid-credit scene with Venom, just like, I was happy and disappointed at the same time. So, because the thing is, the whole deal was kind of teased at the end of Venom Let There Be Carnage, is that, Venom, is going to meet up with Spider-Man, and they're going to fight in that, or something, but no, that's not the case. That's not the case. Though Venom does leave a bit of himself behind, so I guess, most likely in the next Marvel Spider-Man film, we're going to do the whole Venom story. So whether that'll just be, take place across the whole film or whether it's several films, we don't know. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting because obviously, uh, Tom Holland's Spider Man, has so far two different Spider, two major different Spider Man costumes. He's got like his regular one, and then he's got his basically Iron Spider one. So which one will it take over? Who knows? But yeah, not really much else to say on that. So obviously, at the end, everyone gets their memories wiped of Peter Parker, and you know it's a really good, strong ending. It is a really good, strong ending to it. The fact that Peter just can't bring himself to basically tell MJ at the end, but and also he doesn't have anyone because everyone's forgotten he's existed. So when he goes to Aunt May's funeral, that Happy does not know who he is. Neither does anyone. The thing is, though, just like this is going to be reversed at some point, or he's going to tell people, that he's Spider-Man because obviously it kind of has to progress. So yeah, I mean the easiest one he could tell uh, is probably Doctor Strange or the Avengers, because they still know that Spider-Man exists. They just don't know who Spider-Man is because they've forgotten Peter Parker. So they still know that Spider-Man exists. They just don't know who Spider-Man is. So yeah. So basically, anyone. So there's that. But yeah. Overall, I really did enjoy this film. I'm also glad I pre-ordered the Steelbook when it became available for pre-order because it sold out almost immediately, and that was before I'd even seen the film. So yeah, there we go. Is it worth staying? I don't think it's worth staying for the trailer afterwards for the Doctor Strange film, but the mid credits one is worth it. But yeah, overall, that's it. What I thought of this film, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.